It's good, everyone.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yo, I want to introduce our guest of the day. We got my boy Nick Guzzo here. Nick,
Hello.
how are you, man?
Yeah, good. Thank you for having me.
Dude, absolutely. I'm super stoked that you agreed to do this. Love to have you on here, man. When did we meet each other?
Oh, man, it's been, I guess, I would say a couple of years at this point.
I know it was in Fort Collins.
Oh, yeah.
It was a medicinal show.
Yeah.
Me, Medicinal, and Spectacle.
That's right.
That's
dope. Right. And then I was able to do, I was around for one of your shows in Denver, and you had a Rinkajank laser machine that I got to use. Remember? You were just like,
about that.
We had a show,
Again, I just bought them
myself.
myself, and I don't have a laser tech to do them because I'm poor. So I'm like, yo, dude, you want to like mess around with these buttons and I don't know how to use it all?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, actually.
Well, dude, I thought a good way we could start this podcast is just, have you tell people a little bit about your company, Shared Views. That's a part of the reason we started getting closer and talking about collaborating artistically and such. So why don't you tell us about that, man?
Boy, it's been a while, I feel like, since I've told people about it, since I've talked about it.
Everyone just knows it by this point.
No, not even. It's just, with COVID and everything, everything has been just dormant, and so, and to be honest with you, in regards to the company, in a way, we're even a little bit dormant right now. You know what I mean? Or call it, I don't know, soul searching or whatever it is, but
it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, Austin, I guess I don't know. You make music and you've been, I've seen some shows.
I'm kind of newer to it, but yeah, I started doing it for the past couple of years or so.
Yeah.
Chasing the dream.
And you guys had a show, I think, at Larimer Lounge not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken, that you played at, right?
Yes. That was when we opened for you, right?
January 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that date for some reason.
That night was so fun.
Yeah, it was great just because, I moved in here and met you guys and we got closer and closer and it was like, I always had these like, okay, I should try to help these guys out musically, and then got you on that show.
Dude,
so
we appreciate it so much. Dude, I'll never forget it.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah, I mean, and that, so you both know as much as any, right now about just the industry and how it's shut down and what, arguably few industries have been impacted as much as the entertainment industry and the
100%.
Right.
I mean, it's I watch so many people make posts about how they're watching their business or watching their music scene just crumble in front of their eyes, right, and watching everyone again scrambling around frantically trying to find their way and navigate through this like unprecedented time as far as like you just said, detriment to the music industry, right, and to the entertainment industry and media and everything that goes with it, you know. And that's what's cool about having you here is like, you're the back end of the music scene that maybe people don't, I don't know, maybe people they see a picture from a show. Oh, that's a sick picture.
Right.
And people have gotten better about watermarking or giving credit to the photographers, I mean, do you have experience with that?
It's absolutely, I mean, you bring up a great point in terms of a different form of artistry being, overlooked often. And, I guess in regards to you asking what Shared Views is and what Shared Views does, in a way, it's a broad answer. and I guess we'll answer it as we go.
Very true.
It's a media company, through and through. We do multimedia and we do, promotions of sorts. We create news and we share content and information. But I guess in the beginning, and what we try to still hold to is it's a platform and it's a community to enable and allow, artists of different forms to be involved and use their voice or use their skill interest or get involved, and when it comes to photography, as much as a photographer's photo is often gone uncredited, it's, if you're a new kind of photographer, if you will, it might be difficult or daunting to figure out how to get into that scene if you want to shoot for,
exactly,
music or whatever, or events. So, yeah.
So are you kind of open to newer photographers too, willing to kind of show them the ropes of like how to work a camera, even for like, because I know I had like a little shoot with a friend of mine when he first started getting into photography, and he was realizing it was hard to get all the LED lights of all the boards and everything for his camera until he really figured out all the settings.
Yeah,
and
LEDs
everything.
are really hard to shoot.
Do you definitely show like these newer photographers that you're hiring, or
dude, that's an awesome
do you expect
question.
them to know?
Our entire foundation and still our lifeblood really has been, built on and built with the amateur, if you will. You know what I mean?
Good point. Yeah.
And you guys know, Taylor is one of the best examples of that. Someone who you guys know very, familiar, obviously.
Our other roommate Taylor, shout out.
Yes.
Yeah, she's just an amazing photographer, and
she's been working very hard at it.
Totally.
See her constantly every day up there in her studio.
The grind and the investment, and you can see the payoff clearly, and others have as well. But she would be the first to tell you when she first got started with Shared Views. She was one of the first photographers that we worked with, as a matter of fact, back in the beginning there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
And, yeah, and
pretty crazy.
Ask her what kind of camera she had when that and just kind of her skill set at that time. And I think she'll be the first to tell you that she's really exploded as far as knowledge, skill, and capability. And
well, like you just said, we see her every day, and she's grinding all the time. She's on at her desk watching tutorials, learning about editing.
Right.
She's getting into video more and more.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. You've given her like a cool stepping stone into the scene,
Well, it was mutual. Trust me. Do you know what I mean?
Course.
And to kind of get back to your question, Austin. I mean, even at myself, I'm still a very new photographer, if you will. I've always loved it. I've always been interested, and it's been fun. I guess that's been one of the benefits for me during this COVID period, and been kind of pulling the throttle back on the events that we've been covering and content that we were creating, and given me an opportunity, that's for sure, to kind of invest in myself and my time and learning more about the the photo side and the technical side as well, as opposed to kind of the overall business side, obviously.
What kind of things have you been learning more about to help out? What kind of technical stuff?
Just the photo stuff in general, man. I mean, through the beginning, it was really a lot about working and collaborating with awesome artists like Taylor, and I could name a long list, as long as my arm, of great photographers that, I've had the chance to work with and that we've had, created opportunities with together. But also, the drone has been really fun, man. I know you guys are interested.
Dude, we were just flying this drone earlier, and it was during one of the most epic Colorado sunsets I've ever seen. So and that was so fun.
It's as you guys know, and I guess to credit your podcast here, what you're doing, content is king right now.
It is.
Right?
Exactly. Very true.
Figuring out
Tyler
what to do
says
with
that.
it.
I know Tyler's not here today, but he always talks about that. Like,
can we spark this?
Yeah, let's spark it up, man. Let's spark that blunt.
It's Colorado, baby.
Yeah, I mean, this drone was 400 feet in the air and just like doing all these crazy patterns that were meant to, I don't know, produce certain shots or camera angle shots. It looked like it. It was a lot of fun.
It's crazy.
That was like the first time I've ever seen a drone kind of in person and someone fly it. So the way that you had your iPad set up on it so you could see the whole video, exactly what you're seeing, it was crazy. It was mind-blowing.
It's amazing that kind of content is just at our fingertips for
Agreed.
a pretty nominal investment.
And then with a snap of
very good point.
Yeah. And then with a snap of a button, you can take a beautiful sunset picture like Matt was talking about tonight.
I mean, think about 40 years ago. What would you have to pay to get 400 feet in the air and get a shot of the entire sunset and mountains and neighborhood like that? I mean, you'd have to either like pay for a helicopter. It's pretty much the
especially
only
in
way.
like a 4K that these drones are taking pictures of too. They're high definition.
Think about those IMAX films, you know what I mean? That went for that used to be how they'd had to do it, and now that's all drone technology.
No, absolutely. Well, we were talking about the iPhone 11 Max that we're filming with right now, and it's crazy. And the only reason, or not the only reason, but the reason I got like turned on to buying it was because I saw some director recorded an entire movie with just their iPhone, and it looked awesome. And I was like, okay, if that person can do that with an iPhone,
wait. Let's back this up. This is like a real movie that like a director recorded this?
An entire movie with an iPhone.
I'm sure there's...
Can you tell like that it was recorded with an iPhone?
Dude, it looked sick. I thought it looked awesome.
That's
sure there's many.
It was
I mean, you could tell.
It was definitely artistic, kind of like an indie vibe, you know? So like he used that to his advantage in a way, I feel like, but it was, I don't know, I would have never been able to tell.
That's creative as fuck.
It was very cool.
I would be willing to bet there's many videos that have been shot entirely and produced with just the iPhone at this point. It's incredible.
That's a very good point.
Even edited, or with your iPad.
Yeah, they have the iMovie now. This is what we've been using for editing.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Comes on the
You can do so much.
Yeah, Yeah.
I was gonna say, I've seen some of your recap videos that you've done for Sonic Bloom and Arise. And so did you mention that you like contracted out people to kind of help out with some of the drone footage in the past?
Yeah, so I guess, it's important. And one of the things that has been a common misconception about the company, about Shared Views Media, is that we are pigeonholed into just music, or even furthermore than that. For a long time, the question was commonly, are you just about electronic music? Or,
right.
You know what I mean? The answer was always meant to be no, not by any means. But as an individual growing the business in the beginning, there's only so many places you can be at once, right? And so that was just kind of one of the areas and communities that I was able to nuzzle into nicely, and grow within that community myself, and make contact and make connections and start making content and that kind of thing.
Use those connections to reach out to other genres now.
Exactly.
Like other styles of music.
Exactly.
Or whatever it is that you want to do.
At the same time, that has been where I found my comfortability, because obviously that's one of my big interests, right? So that's where, while we intend to be a part of many different, landscapes of economics, if you will. I mean, to give you an example, as a media company, we can very easily, and one thing that we're working on right now is, real estate footage.
Oh, okay.
I mean? Because especially with, the COVID times that we're in, I mean, the digital content was always there in terms of, people obviously, for example, maybe are moving from California to Colorado, and so they're going to shop online to get an idea first, right? That was always there, but I think now even more than ever, because real estate agents can't do open houses the same way.
Yes, I know some friends that have been struggling. My friend, I might have mentioned to you, but my ex's like best friend Ashley.
Okay.
She works for a company, Virtuance.
Okay.
And they do all real estate photography. And while I'm thinking about it, there's actually a crazy story. But they have drone flyers and they've done drone footage. And they were doing something downtown, and this is all hearsay. I don't know exactly how true, but this is what Ashley said from her whole company, like something that happened. But they were doing drone footage of somewhere downtown, and they flew too close to like not the IRS building or something like that.
Trouble, yeah.
Their drone got intercepted.
Oh yeah,
they were able to intercept it. And then they like messaged them, probably had the serial number on it, like you were saying, and we're like, "Hey, you were flying too close to here. We intercepted your drone." I think they got it back and everything, but like that's the kind of technology we're talking about.
Yeah, they're not kidding about it. It's serious. You have to register. These. I mean, there's toy drones. So there's different levels of this, obviously. But these drones that most content creators are using these days, they're capable of flying miles away from where you're piloting from. And, that requires a lot of technology. They're communicating with like 17 satellites at one time while you're flying.
Requires a lot of benefit of the doubt too, because that could be some serious invasion of privacy, if someone tampered with that the wrong way,
there's a lot of stories out there of just patrons taking out drones.
Really?
Oh yeah. People hate them, man. You can see why. I mean, I guess.
I just don't understand why you'd hate them. They're fun.
What's funny is we were talking about drones actually recently, and I was like, I wonder if there's any drone footage out there of like birds attacking them. And sure enough, there definitely is. There's
they
eagles.
Dive bomb on them. Yeah. Yep.
We should look some of that up and throw a little footage in there.
Right? This blunt is wrecking me.
It's that Denver Kush Club weed. I'll give a little shout out there.
Denver Kush Club.
Hitting the spot,
well done.
Yeah, they did a good job actually. And everybody shops there, man. It's a nice little community spot.
I slowly feel myself sinking into the chair and feeling more and more relaxed.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're game changing. And especially when you talk about like going back to, creating content for music festivals and things like that. You know what I mean? It's incredible what you can get out of them now. And that is obviously something that we enjoy doing very much, working with the festivals. And
well, it's such I don't know. I love the recap videos, especially because I see a lot of them now, and I feel like people kind of got to push the editing and do cool new things. And there's one I recall specifically from, I think it was the Arise video, but it was like someone hula hooping, and then the video cut to a new image like through the hula hoop, and if that makes any sense,
that was
like that's what I'm saying. That's what I was talking about. Like your one, I remember it was so cool. Blissfall, okay.
Which is another super.
Again, I always mix it up. I see so much of this shit online.
That was at the Mishawaka.
It was at Mish, okay.
So
I remember hearing about that. Okay.
Have you started incorporating your drones into like the concerts and EDM shows. And all that?
And not me as a pilot personally yet, which I'm excited to do that now that obviously I'm flying some myself and everything. But no, some if we're giving shout outs, Austin is one of the drone pilots and videographers. Austin Logan is his name, and
okay, I don't know if I know him.
Yeah, oh man, he's such a talented just editor and videographer in general, and really the editing is where, and that's where ask content creators that's where the magic happens. Exactly, yeah. Even with what little work I've done with some YouTube guitar videos and this podcast and whatnot, we can put that out too for a while.
Yeah, let's do that. What I find amazing is just that, like, you have all this content and then you start to see it come to life with the editing in a way that you never imagined. And it's just, I don't know. It's like, I love creativity on all levels. That's why another reason I think you're a cool company. You have video, media. I was going to ask you, do you do a lot of the writing?
I mean, yeah, I have done a lot of writing.
Well, everything I read is well written, so there's
a lot of, and when we were really jamming there, I guess for a good year to even year and a half, the idea, as I was saying before, is platform. So not only for, photographers and, content creators on that sense, but, I'm passionate personally about the editorial process myself, and I want to make sure that that's not forgotten about. And so, yeah, there's been a world of great writers. Sophia, I think you might. Did you ever meet Sophia Gabrielson?
Doesn't sound familiar.
The shout out, man. She did a lot of really good writing for us, and she's now moved on and she's working out in LA. I think.
Nice.
That's
she
impressive.
was moving at a bad time.
Shout out, Sophia.
Yeah.
Well, another reason I think you should keep doing your thing and that it's going to keep growing is because you have a good ability to delegate and trust people. That, like, I don't know. There's some people that are very hands-on in the sense that if they're not going to do it right, I may as well do it myself type thing. Right. But you got to trust in other people's abilities, It's
interesting, and I guess that's been where the hardest part has been, is making that transition to eventually as a new company to grow into that bigger point. And everything that we're talking about that we aim to do as a company, as Shared Views Media, is very inclusive, right? And try to cover all the angles. And to be honest with you, I'll leave the details brief on it for proprietary reasons, actually, to be honest with you. But we're fully trying to go back to print in a unique way.
I remember you saying this before, actually.
They'll bring back some print media to
you're going to have a bunch of hippies in Colorado mad at you for wasting more trees.
Interestingly enough, the paper you can print pretty responsibly.
Or they're going to be very impressed.
That's true, actually.
You really can, yeah.
Amused by it just because it's something new and different.
That's
it's
true.
Be one of the two.
Well, we have a unique approach on it, and it's one of those things where we were hit hard with 2020 and COVID in general because of what I'm hinting at. But this was we were really hoping this year to bring out our print version of what I'm talking about here.
Right.
This year, and all signs were looking good.
Not anymore, man.
Exactly.
Although you weren't able to print that, which is like a bummer and everything. Can you see a positive in this COVID thing between your work and everything? Or maybe you were able to work more now towards your goals or achieve more?
I think you're spot on, man. And I have experienced that a lot. And I think like most people would probably agree right now, it's definitely been a real roller coaster of emotions and, feelings and thoughts. It's been been hard, It
has, man. Not only that, it's been a time warp. I mean, it's July 15th?
It's been 4 months that we're on technically quarantine or whatever. So
the time has gone by.
It's gone by so fast.
And so it's been just an interesting wave of different feelings about it. At first you're hit really hard because everything you'd been working towards now is put on. And I think we're probably, the least that can, claim or complain about that as much as musicians and people that were well into their their careers on doing this stuff. And so definitely I'm in no position to complain in that sense. And back to your point, it has absolutely awesome been an opportunity that I hope everybody's finding that, in a sense, as hard as it is to
using this to gain in some way better themselves as an artist or person.
Like I said, for me personally, it's been a great opportunity to work on the actual artistic aspect of my company myself. And now I have the photo skills, or some anyways, to do a lot of where before I potentially needed people. And so it's a balance. We still obviously want to encourage people to come in, and that's in terms of growing as a company, that's the balance. Finding people. Eventually, this company needs an editor-in-chief.
Right.
Where right now I claim that title, but I need someone to do that job.
So you can focus on other
so you
things.
can keep moving up the ladder.
Totally, yeah, exactly. So I can keep relationships going and different ideas turning. So
yeah, absolutely,
it's balance. And COVID's been a speed hump, but yeah, Austin, I think that's a good point. What about you guys on that level? I'm sure you guys have an amazing studio we're sitting in down here. Like I'm sure you guys have been jamming on. This is episode 7 of what just like I said at the beginning. Hats off to you on this. Like just getting so many people want to do a podcast, man. Like talk to any schmuck at the bar, and he's got an idea.
We are officially one of those schmucks.
Totally, yeah. Cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to that, bros. Yeah. I was gonna say, man, like I have for years have been saying statements like, God, if I just had the whole day to myself, I would practice saxophone, I would practice piano, I'd do my guitar, I'd practice sound design, I'd work in my music. And so finally it's like, okay, here's that time, man, like put up or shut up type thing. And like, oh my God, I almost have too much time. And then I just get down and do another task and okay, my mind's like occupied again. But it's been interesting. Like you get everything you wished for type thing. And it's like almost careful what you wished for. Now you have the whole day free. Right. How are you going to stay productive without watching Netflix for 4 hours in a row? We've been, honestly, we make jokes about it, but in this house, like we talk about this a lot. Austin inspires me. Tyler inspires me. They both work like really hard on music because they have a lot of catching up to do because they didn't start till like 2.5 years ago.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's something I've taken for granted. I've been playing guitar since I was 9, Yeah. And so it's been like, wow.
I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I played guitar when I was 9.
I've been playing guitar since I was 9. So it's a moment of realization for sure, and like how hard are you really willing to work, And it's been so fun. I mean, like you just said, this podcast is a product of that, finally having the time to do all these things we talk about doing constantly, but then get tired at our jobs up from being there all day and having to do other things.
Well, are you still working like normal with your day job, and have you been through the whole thing?
I work a lot less than normal because I lost a lot of students. When COVID happened, I started doing Zoom lessons, but a lot of my students are young, like, as young as 5 and 6. Right. And so those parents were kind of like, I don't know how well they'll do with a computer lesson. And I don't blame them. And so a lot of my adult students and teenagers and stuff stayed. Right. And so I was still making some money. Okay. But definitely a lot less. Yeah. And so, there's been a number of things in my personal life too that have, just kind of been a bit of a roadblock to get through as far as monetarily things go, So, but it's getting better and I'm teaching more again. And I actually am going to Highlands Ranch tomorrow to do in-home lessons. I just started doing this again last week. Right. We'll see how long this lasts. I'm kind of nervous that they're going to shut everything down again.
Yeah, dude, it's absolutely going to happen. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know. Like Colorado's done a good job, but now
I saw the governor call us selfless bastards if we're not wearing a mask today, though.
Yeah,
he's like, if you want sports back, wear a fucking mask.
Right? It made me like,
it makes sense.
Yeah, I should be more. I should be more prevalent about it, or I don't know, more serious about wearing my mask. I don't leave very much, so that's one thing. But like when I've gone to the grocery store, sometimes I just don't even think about it because it's still so crazy to me. I'm still like almost not used to everything.
Right. Same.
But I realized I absolutely should be every time I go. Now that I'm seeing how it's not stopping.
I've never been like, oh my God, fuck this place because I got to wear a mask. But I definitely am not thinking to wear a mask. But I always have one in case I need to walk into a business.
Make it part of your outfit. Works exactly. Good,
make it blends in.
We might have talked a little bit about this on your birthday podcast, but Nick was at my last show. What was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago now? At your mom's house in Denver.
You had a show.
Yeah, I played a show, which was like.
Are my squeaks coming through like wildly?
We have a thing to like filter out the squeaks.
Yeah, I can hear them, but then we can also edit it a little bit to take them out.
Quit squeaking over there.
No, but it's hard. We also want natural sound on our podcast, so we don't do a whole lot of editing because like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Things
squeak, you squeak. If you fart, you fart. If you burp,
sometimes life is squeaky. This is true.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was so interesting playing a show, like having to wear a mask while I played, and us all having to wear masks there. But it was fun. I would do it. I mean, we're going to. Are you going to Medicinal this Friday?
No, I'll be at the Beanstalk.
Oh, you're going to Beanstalk?
Yeah. So the drive-in thing.
That sounds rad.
Dude, have you guys not done a drive-in
I have
show
not.
yet?
Tell us about these drive-in shows.
I want to see
They're
Mark Rubelet.
Yeah,
Mark
I was
Rubelet.
there.
I want to
went to
see
that.
his
Yeah, it
drive.
was good.
Wait, you went?
Yeah,
Oh my
it was
god,
good.
I'm so
the funniest
jealous.
person.
That's
Freak
the
and the
funniest
best guy. He's an
motherfucker I've
amazing-
I'm a
Dude.
motherfucking flamingo.
You guys want to know that, dude? I've seen like a lot of music. I've seen a lot of things. Like, dude, I've never seen more girls throw themselves at someone than Mark Ribelet.
Talk about self-confidence,
It was crazy, dude.
That man has
It
a
was
self-confidence
crazy.
like I've never seen.
Yeah,
It's just-
yeah.
And he's a sick producer.
I think he
Beats
almost
are
like.
fucking lit, dude.
I think he's like so good at music and like theory and just singing and everything that he almost like makes fun of how easy DJing can really be.
That's
by
exactly
his
what
shows,
he does.
to me, and he like
Yeah.
turned it into this comedy twist,
show,
and
yeah.
it's fucking hilarious.
It's genius.
He comes at anybody and everyone, talks about fucking your grandma and how he wants to put it in your butthole and all this, and it's literally I've never seen anything like it, but it's
mad.
fucking hilarious.
It's pretty raunchy,
mad.
but again, very classy at the same time.
Exactly.
But yeah, so what are the shows like?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've been to a couple of them now, so I've seen a contrast of, different styles of doing it, and I'm nervous about what to say because I went to one this last week, and there's one tomorrow. We can comfortably talk about this because you guys aren't probably going to have this even up by tomorrow, right?
Probably
So,
not,
yeah,
actually.
okay.
You're right.
No, it takes like fucking 23 hours and
Our
like
computer sucks at
37
uploading.
minutes to upload this shit.
I feel that pain. Yeah.
It literally takes an entire day, if not more, to upload it.
Right.
So first of all, it's an awesome idea, dude. And I'm a proponent of the drive-in. My ex and I would go a lot actually, just for the regular drive-in for the movies. It's a fun
I've
way to
never
spend
been
the
to one,
night.
man. I
Really?
wanna
Me neither.
go.
Yeah,
Really?
never.
They're fun, man. It's
They
like,
started going out at when I was born, and then
there's some around though.
I know
yeah.
they're coming back.
Well, they're there.
So, like,
they're
I
just,
need to
the
go. I just
popularity is
need to
what's
do
coming
it.
back.
Yeah, I just need to do it. But
So I
continue.
don't know, dude. It was fun. They're both really, really fun, and it was a contrast of kind of success, I guess, in a way I'll call it, of why we're doing this, right? In terms of keeping people apart or social distancing, if you will, right? And
Like partying will prevail even in the correct, orderly fashion of proper social distancing.
yeah, well, one did it one way and one did it another, and one, in my opinion, was super successful in terms of that goal of keeping people away from each other for the most part. But there's variables, the genre, the attendees, you know what I mean? The general age even of the attendees is probably
Exactly.
a little bit different. So there's variables, but there was also the setup. And one, Mark Ribelet did basically a big green room, and they actually projected his imagery onto the drive-in screen.
Nice. Okay.
And you had to listen to it through your car. Or if you...
How'd you tune in?
Well, that's technology they've had. That's how you would listen
You
to...
just probably turn into a certain radio
It's like
station.
a low frequency radio station. Yeah, it's like 91.1 or something.
Interesting.
And that's how they do the movies as well. For
Oh,
that. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I didn't. That makes a lot more sense, actually.
Yep, just like one of those broadcasters that you have in your car, I guess, to broadcast your phone to your radio, right? It's probably the same thing,
Okay.
but bigger. So anyway, so you had to listen through your car, or if you're fancy, you had the FM portable radio, right? Which are
yeah.
cool. You can get like one for $90 at Walmart,
Yeah.
probably, and that's it. And it, in my opinion, was really successful in the sense of like everybody stuck to their cars. People were out, but just like in the back, and you know what I mean, like kept in their kind of car's bubble.
One hand on the car.
What about cars
Exactly,
that had
yeah.
like big subs in the back and they were blasting their subs? And it just,
Great, yeah, all the better. You know what
Really?
I mean?
It doesn't
Yeah,
like
because
annoy the car
everybody's
next to
listening
you?
to the same thing,
So,
so it kind of
okay.
just collectively adds
okay.
to it. Yeah,
Nice.
No, it's not it's not the super cleanest. You're not listening to Function One.
Yeah.
course.
You know what I mean? But this is like,
So like
we
old
can't
school
have our
vibe. a
cake
little.
and eat it too.
Exactly,
right?
man. I mean, we
Right.
got to take what we can get right now.
So I guess I feel bad. I'm really not trying to call out the other one that I went to because it was rad. You know what I
They're
mean?
do- they're trying to.
Yeah, it was so cool, and the inner obviously music fan of me, and I was able to shoot it, and I got some great photos and everything.
Congrats.
So I love what they did, but as far as I guess like keeping people apart, it didn't have the same touch. And I think where the difference was they actually hung speakers.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so it wasn't like you had to have that attachment to your car to hear it. They just had big, and you could do
Cool.
that, but they also had it was cool. It was great, dude. You know,
when I'm at a show, I feel very intimate with the crowd and everything, like dancing around, being involved with them. Do you still get that same vibe being?
Well, that's what happened, but that's what they don't want.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? They want you to keep to your car.
Yeah, but everyone's still vibing outside their car. You still get almost that same feeling in a way.
Yeah, and it was cool, dude. Yeah. Like that's what I was stepped back on the side, getting a shot of just kind of the whole thing. And I was just like, this is fucking cool.
That's
can
awesome.
I say fuck?
You can say fuck whatever you want. Yeah, I picture like a group of people in a boardroom, like frantically like, okay, we can't do live shows. How can we still make money? We need to make money so that we are, you know, I'm making a joke about that. But like, all right, it's people like us that love the music scene. They're like, okay, we need to throw a show still, you know?
Well, and I guess like to make it clear why I'm not like calling out that other one, because trust me, I want it to happen. And what I was thinking when I was shooting it out from the side, like I said, was like, through beyond COVID, if we ever get done with this, I hope that this concept remains, and we don't have to be socially distant about it, because it's fucking rad. Dude.
It sounds fun. It reminds me of like Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, like, it's like our generation's way of bringing back the drive-in.
At first, I was like, I feel like you wouldn't be able to get that same like dancing vibe, but like when I'm in my car by myself, I fucking rage. So I couldn't even imagine being actually at a concert in a drive-in concert with five friends in the car too, and
you better have your car dancing.
You're all fucking doing what's that like? What's his name? It's like they're all in the car.
Oh, Night of the Roxbury.
Yeah, and I was all fucking. What is love? Yeah, I feel like I would be with my friends just all in the car, just all in sync. Just
and people, you know, people brought trucks and you sit in the back of the truck and stuff.
Yeah, I can picture that.
And it's really really good concept. But
where was it? The Denver Mart.
There is one coming up there. I saw.
Seen,
but this one, so obviously all the drive-ins are trying to. It's cash grab, right? Like, let's go. Let's line up, dude. The one in Fort Collins has like, I almost said Keith Urban, but like Toby Keith, like a big country musician, is lined up to play. They have big acts, like back-to-back weekends. But yeah, I guess like the fear and reason for calling it out really is because of fear of it getting shut down. Really.
Yeah,
you know, like if they can't keep the wraps on that, and I don't think us talking about it on this podcast, any governmental person,
you're letting the secret out, man.
Right, exactly.
Our two listeners out there are going to tell people the truth.
Totally,
we have like 5.
You're growing, dude. You're
we have more than 2 for sure.
So
shout out to you guys.
Another thing COVID's, you know, like trying to do, but that's the thing. And actually that's what I wanted to get back to. We were talking about like COVID and you were saying about wearing your mask. The problem I feel is that it's just such an unfair situation that we're in now, where I almost feel like we missed that window of nipping it in the bud. Right.
Very good point.
We're confused in places like here in Denver because we did a good ass job of it. But meanwhile, while we were doing a good job of it, half the country wasn't. Half the country is convinced it's fake, and so where that window was that we should have came really far back down and nipped it in the bud, we never got there, and now we're in this just really unfair situation where guys like us, like, what are you going to do? Like, sit home, which you think and probably even internally know is maybe the right thing to do, while you watch like the industry come back to life in different ways and watch your friends go out and do stuff, and you're going to be the Lone Ranger now that, you know what I mean? It's just an unfair thing that we're being asked of now.
It's just, 2020's been so overwhelming too, because I feel like we're just about to overcome this COVID shit too. Like the numbers were declining drastically.
Right.
And then of course the Black Lives Matter stuff happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then
it changed everything.
The fucking numbers started to spike again because everyone started protesting. So it's just like, fuck, when are we going to actually beat this? I feel like it's just never ending because something else is going to happen by the end of the year. It's only July. We got fucking 6 more months.
Well, it's interesting too. Did you see my post? I know you did, about like any 3-digit number you enter into Google and then type cases after. And so let me preface this by, I thought about it a lot afterwards and talked to some smart mathematician people, or not, you know, in that realm. And it's very plausible that with the amount of cities, counties, it makes like total sense.
Especially people putting
But it freaked me out for a second. I was like, is there some crazy... For anyone that doesn't know, if you go to Google and type in any 3 digits and then cases afterwards, you will get a news article from somewhere about that many COVID cases. And so in my mind, I started to be like, are these all fake government websites? Is this all bullshit? But again, you do the math, how many different what am I looking at? Like different areas are reporting. Yeah, different
You
sources.
got to think about every
Exactly.
news source posting every hour about something.
County
they
newspaper,
hear.
the city newspaper, the state newspaper, this country,
any
that
number they
country.
hear.
So it makes perfect sense. But
Still mind-blowing,
But here's
though.
the thing. Let's point this out. Let's say someone wasn't as rigorous as I was and took the time to like really think about it and like, okay, come to the conclusion that this makes sense.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, COVID's fake. And that they wouldn't be able to change their mind, you know? That, oh, COVID's fake.
I think it goes beyond to a bigger problem that America's had for a while now, that we just discredit information that we should be accepting as fact.
Yes.
You know, we know a few things. The Earth is round.
Yes, it is. I can prove it.
This is comparable in my mind.
Just don't watch
you know
TV
what I mean?
news and look everything up online.
Even some TV news is still, you know what I mean? Like,
Just stretch
don't watch
sometimes.
CNN. Watch CBS.
Well, I just heard Bob Saget say this. Within all of those stations, there are nuggets of truth.
And you
That's
still have to
very true. We just saw
realize that
this,
even if you watch local news or whatever, there's still going to be areas of bias. And like CBS, for example, I thought blew it when it came to the riot coverage in Denver specifically. You know, the
I didn't see any
protesting.
of it.
Yeah, I just thought they blew it. They just were spreading false information. They were saying, for example, like that the police didn't use any force or tear gas or anything like that until after 8 o'clock when the curfew was, which was bullshit. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, and it was like urban warfare.
Yeah.
Colfax on Broadway. You know what I mean?
We had a bunch
So,
of friends out there. One of our friends actually got tear gas, I think.
yeah, it
Really?
was
Yeah,
nuts.
Matt Supernut.
Yeah, I took one of those non-lethal rounds.
What?
Yeah, in the
Wait, really?
in the shin.
Like a rubber bullet?
Yeah,
Did it fuck you up?
it hurt so bad.
Dude, like the one in Jackass that he gets shot with and's got that huge welt
Dude, we were
afterwards?
seeing them. Like, I've seen so many articles about people, like that shit breaking
Dude, it's
skin, breaking
scary.
bone.
I mean, to be really candid with you, I got shot 3 times. I was shooting those protests. I shot every day for that first like week and a half.
I mean, yeah, do you want to talk about that at all? I mean,
Like how
Yeah.
fucking crazy it was.
I mean, I saw
crazy.
that you were
No,
there
it's
and
crazy,
whatnot.
yeah.
I'm sure
It's
you got
crazy.
some
They were fucking, like-
interesting
That's some
experience in that.
incredible photographs. That's for sure. You know, like just
Have you posted these anywhere?
yeah. I definitely have put them out. Not as much as I probably should have, to be honest.
Can
and should
you
have.
give like
yeah,
an ad or where
so
Instagram or something
our
so people can look
Yeah,
at it?
I'll have you do it at the end too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure,
right
yeah.
now, shout
Yeah,
out.
I mean our handle for most of our social media is Shared Views Media, all one word. So Facebook and Instagram. And Facebook, our website, and you should be able to get to our website through either of those platforms. But our website, because Trolls is not Shared Views, unfortunately, our website is sharetheviews.com.
Okay.
Which works, kind of call to action. That's kind of why I went with that, and we could change that down the road or whatever. But there is the best place. There's an article that I wrote to kind of describe it all, at least my perception and experiences of it all. And I published all my photos there. And I've been working and fine tuning a lot of the photos, and I have some ideas on how I want to get them out there to be more accessible and more visible. In fact, one of my local hair salons is she reached out through Facebook because she saw them, and she wants to hang an art installation in her.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm really excited about
Wow.
it. Yeah, she
Congrats
was like,
on
it's
that.
history. And
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. What's so cool is like it's one of the times where things are happening in the world, and you're like, you're in the middle of history right now.
Yeah.
Like history that's important and going to be remembered.
This is going to be in like history books in school one day, probably.
Yeah, I mean these riots,
better be,
And you're gonna have pictures of it, so it's like you were in that moment.
Cool, yeah.
Like that's awesome.
But it was
You're gonna
scary.
cherish those
Like
forever.
going back to what you're talking about, like I got shot 3 times for sure, like legitimately. And by the third time, it was only by the third time, and then after at that same time, seeing all the articles that you're referring to about just waves of media personnel across the country were being targeted by the cops out there.
Yeah.
So many of them, like you said, people died. Absolutely.
Dude, it's
A lot
fucked up.
of
Like medics that were trying to help people, they just run up to them and shoot them. So like, I guarantee they're running up and just shooting photographers for fun,
dude, I saw the cops
just to try to get them to not get footage of what they were doing.
Yeah, I saw the cops shoot more people than you would care to know, to be honest. That didn't deserve women,
sad.
children, homeless people. Unbelievable.
Well, that's what sucks about so many people that become police officers is a lot of them are that power trip type that get off on, having that authority over people and then you abuse it.
Yeah.
And then it's just so sad for the cops that are good because they just get their fucking name tainted for literally the majority of cops being assholes and are abusing the power in some way.
Right.
So it's just so sad.
And I should
feel
clarify.
I do feel both sides, but
when I say shoot, obviously I don't mean, people all getting shot with actual, lethal rounds, but multiple different rounds. They were using paintball guns.
Whoa.
They all, dude, it's crazy. They all have paintball guns, and they have these paintball ammunition that are pepper bullets that have pepper spray in the bullets, and they release like a much smaller amount of tear gas, basically, than the big tear gas.
Who's out there designing this shit?
Yeah, so they're out there, dude, and dude, I have photos. Like, I published one. I have a photo of, and I had to duck behind a giant light fixture on the side on Colfax, where it kind of bends around, and there's that amphitheater. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Fort right there.
Exactly. Yeah, going eastbound,
or Lincoln and Broadway and Colfax and shit.
Yep. And there's like a super peaceful, tons of people in front of the Civic Center building, and they all protested by laying on the ground for 9 minutes, which was the same amount of time that
George
exactly.
Floyd on the ground.
Yep. And so it was like super peaceful. And then just around the corner, there was like a different group of people, and I kind of went over there, and I had and then all of a sudden, this is middle of the day, by the way, like 3:00, right? So not nighttime, nothing like that. And these 2 cop cars, and this is early on too. Like, when I say early on, like day 2 of it all, not later on, like when it's all been all super hectic,
right?
And these 2 SUVs, unmarked white SUVs, clearly like the undercover cop ones, though,
right?
They're unmarked, and they have like cops on the side, and 2 of them do drive by, and have about 4. Each of them have about 4 of those paintball guns out the window, and so there's about 8 guns in total. And they do just little drive-by, dude, and just spraying.
Gangster style.
My God.
Everybody.
See, here's what's fucked up. In my head, I'm like, God, that's so terrible. How dare they treat them? But man, that sounds really fun to shoot. Shoot people with some
drive-by.
It reminds me of I went to a corn maze, and there's you get in this school bus and you get a paintball gun, and there's zombies. Yeah, you shoot zombies, dude.
That's so fun.
That's fucked up.
They treat it like it's probably Call of Duty for them,
Yeah.
And you give a kid a toy he wants to play with.
They're getting off on this shit.
It was terrible, dude. It was really, really messed up. And yeah, I got shot with that. I took one of those tear gas canister grenade to the back.
Oh my God.
How's that feel?
Yeah, it fucking hurt, dude. It was so
getting
bad.
hit with
Is
a
there a lot
baseball.
of pressure coming?
Getting walked.
And I was so confused because I was shooting with a 400 millimeter lens. I was way out of, I was shooting what I thought was the action. And I was backing up on the hill.
You couldn't see what was happening near you?
Exactly. And all of a sudden behind me, and that was the second time, and that was when I was like, did they shoot me on purpose? I had a huge camera in my, you know what I mean? And I'm like, did they shoot me on purpose? And then it was the third time I was ducked with another photographer behind a brick wall at a Wendy's on Colfax and took that non-lethal round to my shin, and that fucker dropped me, dude, like a bag of hammers. It hurt so bad. It was
crazy, dude.
Ridiculous.
They targeted the media.
Exactly. And we were perpendicular to the action. It was so, that was the final one where it was it was so clear that they were targeting the media. It was ridiculous.
I can't even believe it.
It's ridiculous. It's scary.
It
so
is.
scary.
It's really scary. I mean,
it is, man. On the very first podcast, I said some things that I would say now I would word differently, because it was the day the George Floyd thing happened. I was so uninformed. I was like, what is happening? Blah, blah, blah. And so I talked about not wanting to go to the protests. And it's mainly because of we talked about mob mentality. There's all the good people that are there peacefully protesting. And then you have, whenever there's a large group of people, negative things happen, And honestly, I'll say it. I was kind of scared to be around it.
Totally.
But I commend you for fucking being there and
how I feel.
Supporting an important cause. And again, what I was going to say earlier is with social media, it was unprecedented with the worldwide protests, people supporting all around the world. That's never happened before. And it's because people are so connected now, instantly that information is available for everyone in the whole world.
Agreed.
But it just is such a bigger problem than, and I'll, let's talk about it. It's sticky, but obviously BLM is so important to me, and I want to be at, or at least very close to near the forefront of the conversation, but it really has, and very quickly, in my opinion, opened up just Pandora's box in terms of much bigger problems that we're dealing with, and just the fact alone when looking at, these protests on who shows up between a huge group of protesters, call them peaceful or not, whatever, and they're dressed in flip-flops with cardboard signs, and then you have this opposing force showing up, which is guys dressed like they're going to war.
Right.
And that just equation is bad no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And that it's just exposing this huge problem that we have with police oppression in general, and obviously the budget differences that these police forces are getting and receiving compared to, the other, basic necessities that are in their cities and communities, like schools and music and Ollie. It's all right, bud.
We haven't introduced Ollie. Maybe when he comes back over here.
Yeah.
No, man, it's I've heard this violence expert talk about this on a podcast before, but he was saying how we need a lot of cops. We need a lot of them because the population's growing, the cities are growing. And then because of this lack of people applying to be cops, they've made the standards to be one easier. And then you end up with a lot of people that are extremely unqualified to do one of the most important, dangerous, like obviously against the civilians.
Right.
It's a really important job. I've heard, people talk about, look at that little roach clip.
You guys
I used
love
to do
it.
that.
That is dope. I've heard people talk
I used to have
about
scissors.
it should be like getting a pilot's license,
Oh, it should be like being a doctor.
Yes.
Like,
we need the best people out
I
there.
watched a podcast the other day with Joe Rogan. He was kind of talking about it, and this New York cop got choked out by like a civilian, and it's because these cops have no real training. So their first thing is fight or flight, go to my gun.
Right.
Yes.
Because I don't know how to defend myself. And they need more
and if
training.
you combine it all with, there's not, it's not just, let's call them Republican. It's not just the right with like them that's at fault in terms of, the police or whatever, this over brutality. Like the left is way at fault in a big way. Think of Hollywood. Think of me. Like this is the only country that has glorified guns more than boobs.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like in other countries it's rated R to see someone get their head blown off.
Right.
But not rated R to see a pair of boobs. You know what I mean? But here you can see it's the other way around. Violence has been glorified for so long, and with video games and movies that we have been throwing in our face for the last 50 years and raising a culture on it. And what are half of these movies preparing us for? Half of the movies are preparing us for doomsday scenarios, end of world scenarios.
Right.
So true.
They've been loading us up for this.
They've been
what I mean?
panic into our heads since day one.
Totally.
Well,
So
that's
are to
why
blame.
that's why I resonate with someone like Sam Harris so much. I don't know if you've heard of him, but like he pretty much describes exactly how I feel. Like I've always felt very liberal. You know, I'm so I don't know. On every social topic, I guess, I'm down for universal health care. I'm down for universal basic income. I'm pro-choice.
Yeah.
All of these things. But then I've seen this like eruption in the left, and like the biggest example I come back to is like in certain. You're good. Are you good on that?
Yeah.
In certain Muslim cultures, they cut women's clitorises off when they're born. It's called a clitorectomy, and it's so they can't feel sexual pleasure as they become older.
Right.
Whoa.
And so you have
hate my mother.
you have people saying things like, well, that's their culture, and that's who are we to say what is right and what's wrong?
Right.
And you're being an Islamophobe by talking against it and by not wanting that. Or by not accepting that, I guess, And again, I'm talking about a very extreme example. And the problem is you hear the more extreme things more than people like us who are probably closer to of some sort of middle on a lot of things. But it's a lot of examples like that where you get this militant left, I've heard people call it, where it's either you agree with us or we're gonna make you forcefully or we're gonna attack you. And that's scary to me because I've always identified as a liberal.
Right.
So it's like, what's going on?
When I was out there during the really heavy parts of the protests and the riots, I'll tell you what, because for a long time I've been fearing the gunned up right side of the political spectrum here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guns out there, and they're all owned by kind of one.
My Second Amendment,
style of thinking of the you know what I mean of the spectrum there. And that was to my opinion, anyways, and I think that still stands, but. When I was out there was, a multitude of people that were pretty geared up as far as, let's just call them like militant looking, like I'm going to say on my side, on our side.
Right.
And I was kind of happy to see it. I remember feeling that way. Like there was like some clearly like Army Ranger type dudes that I was shooting way off on the side with on Colfax and Broadway.
Yeah.
And they were just sitting there, and you could tell that they were there in case.
That is cool, actually.
You know what? They were like, fuck this, and we don't say, like, they weren't out there like getting involved, but you could tell that they were there in case they needed to be.
Well, that's such a weird thing with like the balance of power, like, you know, hierarchies. They happen because the example we always talk about is a doctor. Do you want the doctor that's risen to the top of the hierarchy and is the best at his, you know, thing to do your surgery?
Right.
Or do you want a very even thing where everyone can become a doctor? Okay, so that's why hierarchies exist, because we value things.
Right.
And so what ends up happening sometimes is those hierarchies become too corrupt, and they start, you know, we've talked about I think we mentioned earlier the wealth gap between, you know, the extremely rich and the middle class even, you know, and eventually shit hits the fan, and the people are outnumber these, you know, whatever you want to call it, the high ups, you know, the elites by a lot. And so they're going to fucking start demanding things change eventually, you know, and I think they should be listened to.
I think a lot of people don't understand what that wealth gap really is and where the power really lies. And Alexandria Cortez, help me finish her name. Neither of you?
I have no idea.
She's a congresswoman. She's
the young one?
Yeah,
yes,
young.
Okay, I know who you're talking
Alexandria
about.
Cortez. I can't remember her full name. I should, but she tweeted something like that the other day, but it resonated hard, and she was like attacking and talking about these people, and she was like, literally, it's like 10 people. You know what I mean? I think it was like, when we say we want to tax the rich, we're talking about the like one person, like it's literally like 10 people that have all the, you know what I mean?
Oh,
and it's obviously more, like a little bit more.
I know what you're saying.
It's spot on.
The 1%, they're talking about people that make like probably tens of millions plus a year, you know?
All the money, dude. They have all the money. It's ridiculous.
It is, man.
But
and eventually, like I said, these things shift. So speaking of shifting, I actually kind of want to shift gears a little bit.
Sure.
Because while I have you here, I want to ask you about this super cool place in Colorado that just opened. I always forget the name of it. What is the name of it again?
Yeah, it's called Everland.
Everland.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about Everland?
Yeah, man, but I mean...
You went, right?
I went, yeah. They had a media, soft opening, kind of media gathering, so for, you know, media personnel alone, and they had probably, I don't know, maybe 20 of us there, something like that. And it was cool. And there's a long way to go. And so yeah, I should preface, like, I'm not involved with that organization, but
you're the only one I know that's been there, so I figured you're the best person to ask about it.
I fear I'll describe it incorrectly if you're listening, but it was really cool. It's like an immersive art park is one of the ways that they're describing it, but it's also a retreat center.
Right.
And basically it was a Korean Christian center.
Interesting.
Down in the mountains.
That's just funding all this, huh? This commune.
Right? And it went under or whatever. And so it's this huge building that sits in the middle of like 140 acres. Big land out there. Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's all in the woods and everything like that.
Where is it?
It's outside of Sedalia.
Okay.
So south I-25.
Right.
And then you get off like a little bit before, is it before or after? Before Monument?
Okay.
Kind of down that way anyways.
Yeah.
And then, you carve kind of off into the mountains. And, yeah, it was really, really cool. It was like, it's kind of just in its infancy. And there's more money that they need, as always, you know what I mean, with projects.
We need money.
And they got hit hard with COVID as well, is my understanding. But they put a GoFundMe together. And as of like a couple weeks ago, they crushed it. They were asking for like $80,000. And I think they're sitting right now at like 120.
Oh, wow. Awesome. That's awesome.
So they crushed it. And there's a lot of cool incentives to be involved in the GoFundMe. You get to be part of like the decision factor of what art goes there. So in essence, think of it like festival vibe in a sense, like music festival vibe, right? Like Electric Forest, right? And there's all these really cool installations and tree nets and art in the trees.
Right.
But it comes and goes in 3 days. The idea is this is like a park where they can do permanent installs or long-term installs.
I'm so into it.
Right? Super cool.
So if anyone wants to donate, Everland, they have a GoFundMe. I'm sure you could find some. I'm going to consider donating for sure.
I donated a small amount. I think the smallest amount is like $11.
I can handle $11.
Yeah, you can handle $11. And like I said, they already crushed it, but I think it's still beneficial to make that small donation, because then you're kind of part of the grassroots, you know what I mean, movement, and the initial people that got to help, and you'll get to help make decisions.
Yeah, well, just like bigger picture for everything we're talking about needing change. And I'm so into these new ideas of people kind of, I don't know, offering new ways to live together, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to go to Burning Man, so I was going to go this year, and then it got canceled, man.
So they're huge. The guys that are running that whole thing are big Burn.
Of course, it sounds like it. It sounds like a burner
fan.
kind of community type thing. Come hang, you know,
I think
donate what you can.
Yep. I think a lot of lives were changed through that Burning Man community with this group of people that are running this project, and they've installed just, you know, kind of. It was cool to see it, and it felt similar of just kind of. I guess I'm at a point where I've realized how life starts to kind of put your past experiences together later on in life in weird ways that you'd never expected would happen, right? It's just like suddenly that stuff that you did 10 years ago actually is relevant, and you're like, wow, I see how that's playing into what I do now.
Dude, 100%. I mean, with my music, I think about that constantly. You know, I have like my degrees in classical guitar, and I was in a metal band, and now I've traveled around. I always say this, playing in dusty ass music festivals, doing electronic music, and like I'm trying to find the way to culminate this all into like whatever it is that I am that's unique, you know? And
it just keeps going.
It does. And doing fun stuff like this, like coming back to my childhood and just being like, what did I enjoy to do as a kid? Like, we were at an art retreat with some people, and I was like, can I get a canvas? And they gave me a canvas, and I started painting, and I was like, cool. This is so fun. Yeah. It was awesome, man.
I mean, that sounds a lot like, so this place, what I thought was so cool about it is there's just so many different ways that you can utilize the space.
Right.
And so the huge giant, what was clearly a church, when you drive up, there's like a huge giant cross on the building, and you're like, am I in the right spot?
Praise
like,
Jesus.
Yeah. And so you walk in, and sure enough, you are in the right spot, but it's not a church anymore, and they've converted the whole space to like, they have like yoga rooms and like sound healing rooms and different like places to do things, you know, sessions of that sort, if you will. And then they actually have found a way to convert, I think they have like 13 or 18 what are like Airbnb rooms, like really nice hotel rooms. Damn. So you can actually like book those out.
Have a shower, a nice bed.
It's like a full, like what would be a nice hotel room. And each one of them has its own French doors that go out to the woods in either direction. Yeah, so it's like super nice. So you can like theoretically rent out one of those. Or you can theoretically book a retreat with 100 people, or do a small event with some music and stuff like that. They're not looking to throw like festivals and stuff. They were very clear about that. But
like little private things.
Exactly, yeah. You could throw little events. Or you can go all the way down to the opposite side of the spectrum and I think pay like $20 for a parking or a camping permit, and you can just utilize their 130 acres, which is like perfect camping wilderness out there, and you can just pitch your tent, and you can kind of utilize some of their facilities when you want. If you want to like wake up in the morning from your campsite and go over and do a yoga session and then never see anybody again for the rest of the day,
whatever you're feeling,
exactly. Yeah,
and it sounds like whatever people you meet are going to be fairly like-minded people that we would enjoy spending time with.
I mean, as a camper, I feel like I will utilize it in that sense often. The's 1ant30 acres.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that place. Bring my acoustic guitar and just do some super like hippie like chilling there with my guitar.
So, well, what do you think? Like, I mean, so what do you think then? Are events going to? Do you want to have? Should events be here?
Well,
should we do events?
I mean,
you did a show.
That's a good question. You know, I haven't been to the place yet, so I can't really be a full judge yet.
Yeah, but I mean, just in general, do you know what I mean?
Should we be having events at all?
Are events coming back?
You know, honestly, that's a good question. It's like another way I see a divide in the community is people are starting to throw events again, and certain artists are speaking out against it.
Right.
And man, it's like,
there's a division there, like in everything.
I will be totally honest, like, I really respect everyone's opinion about the situation because I'm not a scientist. I hear so many scientists on both sides saying I don't know. It's like it's not like global warming where people are like, oh, there's scientists that say it's not. No, that's not true. Like we all know this, but like I'm not sure enough about this one just because I haven't done enough research. I'll be honest.
Right.
And I don't know. I have lived my life in the sense that I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to continue to live my life. You know, I flew, I traveled, whatever. but I totally respect someone if they don't, because I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. And I respect an artist that they don't think. I definitely think that we should continue to restrict on the events. I don't think we should be all full blown yet.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's one of those hard things. I don't know the right answer. I'll be honest.
It's tough.
You know,
I read an article that suggested we might not ever get past the window of fixing this, and we might be stuck with this for theoretically years, long time.
That'd be scary.
Yeah.
it is. And, you know, I sound really cold hearted saying this, and, you know, maybe I'll change my mind if it gets worse. But if my own mother or father got COVID and died, I would be heartbroken. You know that. I would it would be detrimental. Right. But part of me feels like this thing just has to do its thing and run its course. I mean, it's not the first time this happened in human history, and it's not going to be the last time either, you know? Right. And eventually,
hopefully in our history,
hopefully,
right?
You know,
yeah.
And eventually it's probably going to be a lot worse. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know.
Worse, yeah.
You know, you hear all about these super bugs in hospitals that are like becoming resistant to every antibiotic possible. And that's why like 90,000 people die every year in hospitals from doctors not washing their hands correctly.
Right.
Something like that. Oh, it's insane. It's an insane number. And so, fuck, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like, is this how life's going to be forever? Wearing masks, having to social distance constantly?
Well,
like,
I wonder if, I don't know what, like, I wonder if they're false comparisons because, whatever X amount of people die from surgeons, let's call it malpractice.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
There's preventative measures that go there still, right? Like someone might argue, well, there's, 40,000 people that die a year from car accidents. And it's like, well, we're still putting in every year more and more preventative measures to make sure that seatbelts work better and cars have bigger safety measures, and we update traffic laws and we update different things. And I think statistically, if you look, the numbers have gone way down on those types of, you know what I mean?
Very true.
On those types of numbers. So
self-driving cars will be the saving for that thing.
But for some reason, like humanity, or at least American citizens, have decided, like, when they say, "Hey, just wear a mask," and we probably can go like reduce this thing drastically. Right. It's like, no, my civil rights.
I don't get that response. Yeah.
So bizarre.
And there's a lot of hypocrisy in that type of thing. Like, you've seen these, like, it's my body, it's my choice, but then they're like pro-life people, you know?
Totally.
It's like, what?
It's just this
do you even think about
that we live in? Like, it's scary.
No, the doctor thing is different, though, because, like, what it is, like, I might be misconstruing two different things, but like I know with antibiotics,
right?
I don't know exactly how they work, but they develop these things that fight against viruses,
right?
And then the viruses evolve and they become adaptive to the antibiotics, and we need to make new ones,
right?
And so, like, eventually, there's a lot of people that think it's going to
antibiotics just won't work in general.
Yeah, like some lot of people. So, like, there's a lot. Well, I guess
scary.
all I was getting at is that there's so much that goes on with biology and the chemistry of the body that I don't fully understand. And also think about how long we've been recording human history, like not that long. And like, we're going to be introduced to things that this is a new thing we've never had to deal with. Right.
The problem is that there are things that we know, like we said, you know what I mean? And we create such a disservice, and it's become so prevalent in our culture with, and I think it even goes that it all ties in. It ties in with the way that police treat their citizens. It ties in with like cancel culture, right? Like, it's this mentality that's been brewing, and we don't treat it the right way. You know what I mean? And we just disrespect it, and we make it political or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's unmanageable. You know what I mean?
100%.
Could have had it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, something I've heard that's a good example is like with an anti-vaxxer, for instance, the gut or the knee-jerk reaction that most people have to that is, how could you think that, blah, 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 and then they're just going to keep thinking that because you, like, insulted them or something, you know?
Well, it's just because of what I was saying, which was about basically the amount of disinformation that's out there.
Exactly.
That's the disservice that we've created to our society, is everybody wants to question everything, and the amount of personal, good friends that I have that are just, God, for lack of a better way of saying it, just clueless. And I think that they would even accept that word of like, yeah, I don't know, fucking know. The amount of people are just like, no, I don't trust the meat. I don't trust the meat. I don't trust the gut. Anything they're saying
that can
out
be dangerous.
there.
You're right.
I don't trust the numbers of what they're saying the death numbers are in Europe. I don't. And everybody wants to just question everything, which is great. And I remember a teacher when I was growing up telling me question everything because she thought I asked a lot of questions.
Right.
And some situation came up, maybe a student made fun of me for it or something, and she said, Nick, don't ever stop asking questions. So I'm a proponent for that and questioning things and questioning authority even. Fuck yeah, I bet your ass I am. You know
well, that's
what I mean?
exactly what I was going to say.
But there's a difference in that and questioning things that generations of scientists and mathematicians have dedicated their lives to figure it, going back to like flat Earth.
Truths.
Exactly. Like we know.
We've moved on. We should be past this.
Right.
We shouldn't even having to waste either of our breath in this conversation.
But that's what it creates. And when you start seeing these things become so prevalent in conversation and in social media and in information that's being out there, the general population really just starts becoming ambivalent to fucking the whole thing. You know what I mean?
No, you're totally right. And that's you were spot on. That's exactly what I heard this person say, like, try to approach an anti-vaxxer like, okay, I commend your skepticism. I see where you're coming from trying to question what's being given to you.
Right.
But go on to explain the objective truths that we do know. There's, we've moved on. I talk about this all the time. Like, let's say people talk, scientific theories get changed and we thought the Earth was flat once. Like, okay, we could change the genes of a child to not have certain diseases now with, CRISPR and whatnot. For our knowledge of DNA to be incorrect and to have that happen correctly over and over and over again, the statistical chances of that are anomalous, And so there's these same truths like you're talking about, like there's no argument about certain things at this point. We're beyond that, But it's a shame because, because of all the disinformation, you're going to have people that just don't. It doesn't click with them right away.
Unfortunately, what it then leads to is if you question them and what they're now certain they know, there's no one willing to accept new information. There's no one willing to accept a new point of view or a new way of looking at things or willing to change their goddamn mind.
Absolutely. And that's,
you know what I mean?
You ever seen the movie Dogma?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I love that movie. But Chris Rock has a great quote.
Yeah.
He's like, they're talking about beliefs. He's like, I prefer to have ideas. He's like, ideas are a lot easier to change. But if you have beliefs, you hold to them and you die. Some people die for beliefs. They're ingrained in you. And you got to be able to be a little more malleable than that because new information is presented.
Right.
Things change. People change. I've changed all the time.
Well, that's where things like, religion start getting, blurred into things like policy. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's why it shouldn't.
Yeah, when you believe something, that doesn't mean that entire women's health rights should be changed because of, what I mean? What you believe.
We've found new ways to gather stem cells now, but for a long time, the belief that life began at conception or whatever inhibited a lot of science on stem cells that has done an enormous amount of good. And so there's a perfect example of someone's moral beliefs that are religious kind of getting entangled with, and I get it, I see why it happens totally. I'm not saying what's right or not, but it's just interesting. It's certainly held back the growth of science momentarily there.
It's what I think part of the problem is that everybody has too much of a platform and too much, and as much obviously like this, I want to make podcasts.
Listen to us.
Let's do that. Yeah, like social media has changed us, right? Like, and regardless of like, everybody should be out there making content. Yes, absolutely, because this shit takes work.
Right.
What doesn't take work is putting some fucking bullshit on Facebook, but that has become equivalent in a lot of people's minds. It's their own content, and it's always about, look, I'm the star of the show.
Right.
This is what I have to say. This is my show. You don't like what I have to say? Change the channel. Get off this show. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna change my point of view. No facts or science or fucking knowledge is gonna make me. Just change the channel.
That's why you have to pick your battles.
You don't like it here? Leave.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like Facebook is such a bad platform for this arguing too. Like the columns are so narrow. There's like 4 words, and it's like this giant lengthy thing, and people get like halfway down and they don't even read it all, and then they respond anyways, and it's.
I've been guilty. We've all been guilty.
I'm guilty. I have a limit. I don't know. I should do like a little test as to how many words it is. But I definitely have a word limit where I'm like, no, I'm not reading any more of that. I can't do it. It's too long.
As soon as I see that it fills my entire screen, I'm like, I'm going to read that later.
You read that
and I never do.
Oh, of course. Like, if you read that in an email, it would look pretty normal. But just on Facebook, it looks absurd.
Agreed. It's got to go, man. I mean, that's my kind of... Facebook's got to go. It's gotta go.
You think
somehow.
Facebook does?
Dude, absolute. I just think, I mean, the Facebook creators have said that they accidentally ruined the world. they knew what they were doing
It's
it while
taking on a life
they
of
were
its own.
doing
It's
it.
an
Yeah.
entity.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a great way of connecting people, though. So, what do you think would?
By the way, follow
Take
us on
over that.
Facebook.
Yeah, right. Absolutely, Shared Views Media. Yeah.
What do you think would take over that then, or do you think it would just be you should
I don't know.
call
It's a
people
great question.
like old times?
Well,
Just dial someone up and actually talk to him on the phone instead of over through
I think that
computer?
first of all, what your question begs the question of if Facebook went, does that stem all social medias to leave and go, right?
Ooh.
Because if Facebook's not there, like, I mean, there's so many different unique ways that people are connecting now that are way beyond my head, even the ones that are right at our finger, like TikTok, you know what I mean? And
Right.
in the
I've
news.
never used it, but I
still
see it all the
don't
time.
really know what it is. Is it like
It
the new
reminds me of
Vine?
Vines, yeah.
It was, I think, the replacement
I've
to
never
Vine,
downloaded
basically, yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember the community was mad that Vine shut down. When Vine made the decision, I remember that, to shut down.
Yes.
I remember their community was really upset. And I think TikTok
People
was
loved
what was
Vines.
created.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I had a friend go viral on Vine.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Really?
like white people versus black people dunking, and it was like white
That's
people
hilarious.
dunking, and all the white people just shake the person's hand after they dunk, and it's like a black person dunks, and the whole bench goes fucking wild. It was super funny.
Do you remember that movie, White Men Can't Jump?
Yeah, Woody Harrelson,
Yeah,
Wesley
totally.
Snipes,
Yeah.
dude.
That shit is so
That
good.
Yeah.
movie is amazing.
Yeah, that was
We
a
should
good one.
watch that soon. Put that on the list.
Dude, I just remember that depressing scene where they both win like 10 grand and then they're like driving home and he like bets Woody Harrelson that he can't dunk. And then
Yeah.
he bets him the whole 10 grand and he doesn't.
Yeah,
He's not able to dunk. And then he goes home to his like girlfriend empty handed and she's like, "What the fuck, motherfucker? You're supposed to have the rent money." And it's like, dude, this guy's life sucks right now.
And then they played
Should have
Jeopardy.
been able to
And
jump.
Yeah, she goes on Jeopardy.
Dude, speaking of Jeopardy, one of my
Rosie.
buddies, when COVID like really hit and we were really quarantined and everybody was like Zooming heavy and everything, my buddy figured out how to put Jeopardy on Zoom, like legit too, like with like a PowerPoint full on like Jeopardy board, and we would all like zoom in and we managed to play Jeopardy.
Zoom Jeopardy.
That
Yeah, it's
is
hilarious.
awesome.
Zoom Jeopardy.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, now that bars have been able to open, one of our friends, do some shout outs here. One of my friends owns a bar called Mozart's,
Okay.
which is like a little dive bar on East Colfax, basically.
Nice.
And not even that far east, but yeah, East Colfax. And so now that things are able to be open again, those places are struggling,
Yeah.
right? They're in just a hard position. They don't have any options, you know what I mean?
I get it, man.
Like, all right, I guess let's try to open and have 10 people here. And, you know, like,
Well, I've talked about that. Imagine again, it's the same with any artist too, I guess, but imagine you open a restaurant, it's your life savings, your life's work,
Totally.
and then you just can't even operate a business legally anymore.
right.
What's up, Tay?
What up, Tay?
Hi, hello.
Steph?
We got the girls joining.
Oh,
What do you guys
shit.
got there?
We have a bong. Shout out to the roommate
I will
Taylor.
rip it.
We talked about how great
It's
of a
legal.
photographer
It's
you
legal
are.
in this
Yeah,
state.
you made a verbal appearance.
Thank
and now
you.
No
a
problem.
physical appearance. Are you gonna sit and talk with us for a little while?
Just drink your
Well, you
marg.
brought us weed. That's pretty cool of you. You were flying the drone with us earlier. That was pretty fun.
Yo, is she milky?
Oh, she's
That's pretty
milky.
sick.
Taylor, can you throw this jewel on the charger?
I took the charger,
so if you could find a
charger and then throw it on there, that'd be tight.
Well, what do you guys think? We can wrap up the
Anything for
podcast
you guys.
probably.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
How long have we been talking?
Oh, we've been going for 72 minutes, boy.
Oh, that's pretty
It's over an hour. We usually try to go like about an hour or so.
We out
and if
here
we-
killing the game.
you know, but we could go hang out with the ladies
What
for a
else?
while.
Was there any other subjects?
Was
you
there
wanted
any
to
other
talk about?
subjects we wanted to talk with Nick about?
I mean, we shouldn't say. I don't want to get canceled if we say too much.
You know-
any word further, we might be saying the one.
I'd like to preface all of these statements that if I offend you or say something wrong, I
We-
didn't do it on purpose, and I'm probably just said something stupid.
This might cancel me 5
Probably
years
just
from now. This
a
very
blunt
actual, like,
deep
we might
is
get canceled
super
for
high.
Smoking on camera.
We just smoked a bunch of weed, and sometimes
Well-
I can be a little stupid.
I feel if another question pops up, we can invite him back for another podcast.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, man. This is definitely not gonna be the last time. Fucking, I love having you on here, man.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
been a
very much.
pleasure,
It's been a
dude.
good conversation.
Can you tell people one more time where to find Shared Views?
Yes, our website is sharetheviews.com. And then all of our social media handles are Shared Views Media, and each one should be able to lead to the other. And yeah, like I said, you know, we're a little bit dormant right now, if you will, and our content is sporadic.
Well, hey, by the time
some live stream
some
stuff,
people might listen to this a year from now or whatever, you probably won't be dormant anymore.
Yeah,
We'll be fucking back
not.
at it and
Hopefully
success,
not.
dude.
Yeah.
It's been awesome, bro.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it again sometime.
We'll do it again. Don't forget to follow Privileged Cavemen
Yeah.
on our YouTube channel at Privileged Cavemen.
We're also on
Facebook,
Spotify. We're now on Apple
Congrats to you guys
Podcasts.
on all
Apple
this.
Podcast.
So
Yeah, thanks.
if you
It's
don't
been a
need
lot
a
of
video,
fun, dude. We'll
you
do it
just
again.
wanna
You're the
listen to
man.
some audio.
Peace, guys.
Apple Podcast.
You're an Apple Podcast.
You're an Apple Podcast. You're a towel.